Welcome to the Get Better in Chelmsford podcast. I'm Rich, and today I'm talking to Tony Briggs, founder of Plan B. Tony spent 30 years as a celebrity photographer before swapping the camera for a beehive. And what he's doing now might be more important than anything he's ever shot.
So Tony, welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure.
Your journey isn't particularly typical as to how you're doing what you're doing today. You've gone from photographing celebrities to working with bees.
Indeed. I've been a photographer, kind of an advertising and celebrity photographer since, show my age now, since the late 80s. So yes, 30 odd years behind a camera, video and stills. I did the one of the first photo sessions with Kate Moss and Bill Bailey and Sacha Baron Cohen and Jimmy Carr and all of this. And I did that for 30 odd years. And I really, if anything, the beekeeping, I've only been doing it professionally. This is my third year. And I wish I'd got out of photography a bit sooner. I wish I'd jumped ship. I wish I should have started my beekeeping thing about 10 years ago. But yeah, it's not the normal path, is it, really? Through
No, but perhaps take us back to what did a day in the life look like?
When I was a photographer?
When you were a photographer, yeah.
Oh, right. Well, no two days were the same, really. I mean, it's interesting. I was just listening to something on the car on the way in this morning that somebody was saying that the 90s, they reckon, like in a sociologist's sort of context, was the peak of human happiness. It's been going downhill since the 90s, purely because it was pre-social media. Everybody had sort of stability, with house prices and stuff and all the rest of it. So my photography career I did it all without a computer, really. I was quite late to even having a computer. So it was all film and processing, old-fashioned chemistry. Yeah, me and my wife, we lived in it. My wife was a photographer as well at the time, and we both lived in our studio in Shoreditch in London. And to be honest, a lot of it was just luck. I just did what came along, really. I had an agent who sort of sent people to me, and I just... it was just the right time, right place, really, Richard. I just, just did it, And I was in part of that whole Britpop 90s thing. I did a lot of, I don't know if you remember Ocean Colour Scene. I was their photographer for sort of 5 years, did all of their big albums, directed their videos and stuff. So it was great fun.
So it really begs the question, what changed? When did it change? How did it change?
Well, I moved to beautiful Essex about 25 years ago. I mean, my wife had our daughters, and we've always had a small holding. We've had sort of pigs and chickens and turkeys and ducks and stuff for years. And my wife bought me a beehive for a birthday present. And I just really sort of took to it. So to just give a bit of context, my wife writes, she's a sustainability writer. And like I say, I was trying to get out of photography. I mean, we've all got 4K cameras in our pockets now. It's pointless trying to compete with that. So I was trying to get out of photography for a while and didn't really know what else to do. And then Alice had the suggestion that I should try to do the beekeeping thing professionally. Yeah. So I just, transferred my marketing skills from photography to beekeeping and started Plan B, which is literally my Plan B. So I still run my photography website. So the front of it is still my sort of Plan A, if you like, the photography and video stuff, my archive, 30 years of work. I didn't want to kind of just sweep that under the carpet. So that still sits there, and I still sell my work, through art galleries and stuff. And then my Plan B is my beekeeping project.
So I guess sustainability, nature, they've always been there, so there was an inevitability about it. I've always quite liked the idea of being a farmer, not on a huge scale, on a more of a kind of artisan, small scale, a small holding really. And in the end, I couldn't even carry on with the pigs because I just got too soft, and I couldn't do the pigs anymore, taking them off. I mean, I'm a meat eater. It was great growing your own pork, but I couldn't do it anymore really. Well, I just got too soft. And bees are great because nothing dies. You don't kill anything, and the bees make the honey regardless of me. Yeah.
And it's To be honest, Richard, it is much harder work than I thought it was going to be. When I first started, I thought beekeeping, that'd be a nice thing to sort of go into retirement, but it's very physical and it is hard work, man.
Yeah.
It's graft. I did underestimate, and that's without the whole climate change aspect to it. Bees are really suffering. So it's not the kind of dream job I thought it was going to be.
No,
well, it's very fulfilling. I do love it.
Let's get into that in a moment. But I on your website, there's a fantastic quote which I think kind of bridges the sustainability in your heritage and your history here. Nature's always kind of been present, and I just want to talk about your character. And you've already referenced Bill Bailey as being a client, and I think formerly you've also known as
Bill's old friend. Yeah, no mate. Yeah.
But his quote about you is gold in his teeth, silver in his eyes, diamond in his heart. So that's
a nice thing. He's a very nice man, Bill.
There feels like there's a bit of a philosophy behind you as well. Is that actually you were always destined to perhaps be here?
That's a nice way of looking at it. Yeah, maybe that's a nice point. Yeah, I mean, it's just fate, I suppose. I mean, I just followed, instinct really, and just it's funny how I didn't see myself particularly as a smallholder and a beekeeper, to be honest. But yeah, it's funny how things turn out.
Yeah. So the beehive was bought as a bit of a hobby.
Yeah.
When did it become a mission to do this?
About 4 years ago. I can't remember. Well, it's just a mixture of things, really. I mean, being, aware of climate change and stuff. It's, obviously the science is there, and it's been kind of in the background the whole time. But it's not until I started beekeeping that you really see the cutting edge of it, of how it's and I think bees are quite a good kind of litmus test of how the environment's changing. And without being too melodramatic about it, I think without beekeepers, without our help, they really would be, as a species, would be in real trouble. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of things against them, as well as the man-made aspects of pesticides and habitat loss and all the rest of it. Just the climate change. I think bees have they're finding it difficult catching up with things are changing so quick. I mean, they've evolved, 100 million years is estimated they've been around. And they've obviously evolved to deal with, they deal with the cold really well, which is why they make so much honey. They're hardwired to make far much more honey than they need to get them through winters, because they're used to hard winters. But it's the damp that kills them, and it's just the constant rain. I mean, I've lost nearly half my stock this year, purely because, a few different factors, but I think it rained for 52 days, I think, since the new year. And I just don't think the bees could cope with it. I mean, the hives are all watertight, waterproof. And yet I think it's just maybe the atmosphere is damp and everything's just damp. They have plenty of stores, loads of honey. Just for a bit of context, I do all my beekeeping as organically as I can. I don't use any plastics or treatments or chemicals or anything. I can't tell the bees what to forage, obviously, so I can't call it organic completely, because the bees feed where they want to feed. But when you do it naturally, you expect to take losses. I mean, I normally expect 10-20%, but I'm over 50% this year already. So
let's stay in that problem for a minute, I think.
Yeah, I'm jumping forward.
No, it's absolutely fine. Like, I think bees I've always said and always joked that they've got really good PR. Right, they are a fantastic.
Yeah, there's a new big Disney film just coming out this week, isn't there? The Secret Life of Bees or something. Huge.
I was going to reference a previous one, the Bee movie, where it was it's catastrophe when they stop producing stuff. So I think you told me that 1 in 3 mouthfuls of food depends on pollination.
Completely reliant on pollination. Yeah, probably more. 1 in 3. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is just it's frightening, because even the meat industry is reliant on pollination, because animal feed is made from apples and wheat and grains, and so the pollination supports the meat industry as well. So without it, it's frightening, really, of the situation they're in.
So I guess the question to us is, are bees really that important?
Well, yeah, that's what the scientific community say. I mean, in America, they obviously on American standards, they have huge farms, particularly for like almonds and their fruit industry, and they ship around literally millions of bees on trucks and to pollinate the different states. And a lot of the big bee producers last year lost 100%. They've lost all of their stock. And a lot of beekeepers believe that it's because the chemicals they've been treating the bees with, it's like an antibiotics and the antibiotics and treatments against varroa mites. They've become immune to them, or the mites have become immune to them, and they're just wiping the stock out, So, and if that's happening in the controlled beekeeping community, I don't know how the wild bees will negotiate that as well. Really, I don't know if they'll survive. It's funny because we're coming up to the swarming season now, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with the swarming. Honeybees swarm. It's how honeybees reproduce. So when they nest, they're if it's a beekeeper, it'll be in a hive, or in natural, it'll be in a hollowed out tree. When that gets too overpopulated with bees, they sense that they're running out of space. The queen tells the colony, they talk to each other with pheromones. She'll let the hive, the colony know that they're getting overcrowded, and she's going to move out in a couple of weeks, give or take. So then when she leaves, she'll take half the colony with her, and the remaining bees will make a new queen. Amazing stuff, really. It's like sci-fi stuff. But again, after this year of the constant rain, who knows how the wild bees have survived, really. I collect swarms regularly from a couple of wild colonies, and I've been out to check them, and they're dead. They haven't survived. So I don't know what the bigger picture is going to be, but it's my quest to kind of breed a climate change resistant bee. It's kind of a microcosm of mini evolution, isn't it? So
how do you go about breeding that?
Well, just the bees. Well, it's not too hands-on. It's simpler than it sounds. It's the colonies that survive have obviously got better genetics at dealing with their own hygiene, at dealing with disease and pesticides and climate change. So the ones that survive are obviously just they have a stronger queen. So I'll just manipulate that hive and keep breeding from them. What you do is really, I suppose the easiest way of saying it is you take the queen out, so they keep making new queens. Mm-hmm. So I can keep breeding from the strongest surviving genetics.
So where you talk about sustainability, climate change, and resilience, are you really on the front of the front line here of the early warning signs? And
exactly, yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, I mean the bees are really they're just an what's the word when you I've lost my point now. When you like a warning signal, I can't think of the word, but there's they're just an indicator of how bad things are. So I'm just going to try keep breeding from my surviving stock and try to produce a really, a resistant.
And you're talking about honeybees, and specifically we've talked about the Essex Black Bee. Can you talk us about?
Yes, that's interesting.
The differences there.
Well, when I first started beekeeping, I caught a wild swarm of native black bees. Another part of the problem they think within the sort of beekeeping community is, as hobbyists, we import too many bees, and the hobbyists kind of breed bees for their gentleness and easier, and make for colonies that are really docile and easy to handle. But I think that all makes them too gentle, if you like. I've got a couple of my black beehives with really strong genetics that I breed from all the time. They're not aggressive. No honeybees are aggressive. If you leave them alone, they're not going to bother you. But they're quite defensive. If you mess with them, they're a bit spicy, if you like. But I think that's a good trait of a bee. They need to have something to
Defensive
defend.
quality.
Yeah, a bit more about them, if you like. And I think the gene pool of honeybees, bringing in bees from every season, a lot of queens are brought in from Southern Europe, from Italy, and I just don't think they're acclimatized to British. I mean, in Essex, it's not too bad. They do say we live in the sort of the Florida of England, but especially in the north of England and Scotland, if you import bees from Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, I just don't think they're acclimatized. So my project is about trying to breed the resilience, but also keep them localized so they're, so they can sort of catch up with the climate change.
Yeah. And you mentioned hobbyists and everything, and you talk quite passionately about this. When did this become a business? And how have you turned it into a business?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, it was kind of a gap in the market. I couldn't find anybody else doing what I was suggesting to do, with companies that wanted to support pollination. I mean, just to backtrack a bit, honeybees are the only pollinator that makes honey that we can cultivate, if you like, and nurture. And like I say, they're hardwired to make more honey than they need. So it's not like we're taking anything they don't need. In fact, if they make too much honey, and the hive gets honey blocked, and they suffer for that anyway. So we're almost helping them by taking honey off them. But there's all of our native pollinators are suffering the same fate. They're all dying off in huge. I think there's 2 species of bumblebee become extinct in the last few years, just from the same problems that honeybees face: the climate, habitat loss, and pesticides predominantly, I think. So yes, the honeybees are more manageable, and obviously there's the perk of producing honey. So my business idea was to, if a business has got the space to actually install hives for them on their site, if you like.
Yeah. How much space? How much would someone need?
Well, it's not really about space, because the bees can travel for like 5 miles for food if they need it. I mean, they'll always take the shortest route first. They make a beeline for, it's where the term beeline comes from. They'll always just find the closest forage first. But so you can have a beehive in your garden. This urban beekeeping is a fascinating thing. I mean, people say that urban honey is much more interesting because the bees take such a wide variation of forage from people's gardens, from tropical plants and flowers and things, that the honey is much more interesting. Rural honey is quite often just from one crop, so it can be, well, bland sounds a bit harsh, but you know what I mean, like a single layer taste.
Yeah.
So yeah, what am I talking about? So what was the question?
Well, when did it become a business? But also, I guess, why are businesses getting involved?
Yes,
so that's
yeah.
I think that's
well, I can't see a downside to it, really. I mean, I look after beehives for a few hotels, for St Others Priory and Wivenhoe House Hotel and Seckford Hall up in Suffolk, and they obviously use their. It's great for them to have their own honey to use in their kitchens and to sell to their guests and stuff. And it's just, the bees really do need all the help they can get, and it's just I can't see a downside to it. It's like just a great story, isn't it? And it's fascinating. I'm used to it because I do it every day. But when I show people inside a beehive and show customers how beehives work and when they can handle bees themselves, people are fascinated by it. I've got a beehive on Council Chambers roof, and it's Chelmsford City Council just around the corner. And it's fascinating to see them at work. And that honey is very different to the rural honey. I'm just in Greatleys, 5 miles up the road, 10 miles up the road, and the honey is remarkably different to the honey we produce in the middle of Chelmsford.
Yeah. So other than, I guess, appealing to the honey connoisseurs of the world, what are the other reasons? Obviously, you're seemingly leading the fight here to, and I'll say perhaps artificially fix bees, but maybe they need that support on
What
that
do you mean
backbone.
artificially?
As in, we're breeding them, we're not letting nature just take its course. 'Cause it sounds like nature's not taking its course particularly well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say. I mean, it's interesting. Even just the data's interesting, really. Even when things fail, it's interesting in kind of showing the point that why they're failing. I mean, my project is kind of based on that single colony of native black bees, which were wild bees, which I've been breeding from for the past few years, and they're still going strong. You know, I'm just every year I make more queens from that colony. So they haven't been manipulated as such. I'm just supporting them. I'm not doing anything to them other than just giving them the environment, a safe environment to thrive. But I'm not manipulating them in any way. So I'm just kind of giving them. I'm supporting them really, rather than any manipulation. But time will tell. It's just interesting but I'm convinced that without beekeepers as a species, they would be in real trouble. Yeah. This year being the highest honeybee mortality on record. You know, all records have been broken this year of losses.
So very much a warning sign for us all.
Yes, warning sign. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah. So, yes. So my pitch. I mean, a lot of my business, Richard, I just kind of cold call. I just email companies and just say, "Do you have the space to support a beehive?" You know, just for sustainability reasons, for pollination. And of course, you get the honey. And I've had a great uptake on it. You know, people really love it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, beekeeping is expensive. Everything involved in it is expensive. I mean, buying bees and buying beehives and stuff, none of it's particularly cheap. One of my biggest supporters is Landsec, the guys that run Braintree Village. So they've got a fantastic few acres of rewilded land just the other side of their shopping village, and that's where a lot of my project is based. We have got a few hives there, and that's where I think there's a small river running through it, so they can't be built on, so they've rewilded it, and the bees there are thriving. So, and they're not, you know, like I say, there's no chemicals, no treatments. It's just wooden hives. Yeah, and like they're doing really well.
And you touched upon earlier that it's not quite the dream job or the easy graft. So just talk us through a day. What's involved in all of this? Because it's quite a mission.
It is. Yeah. I mean, bees don't get up too early, so that's a bonus. They they don't like getting up early. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm kind of joking, really. Everything. Honey's really viscous. It's very heavy. Beehives weigh a ton, and obviously there's the risk of you're dealing with a box of 50,000 insects that would potentially kill you. You know, we're the best one in the world, and even the nicest bees. If you drop a hive of bees, they're not happy. And I get stung all the time just through laziness, really. I mean, with a couple of my particularly spicier hives, I take extra protection. But yeah, I've been a photographer and been a creative for so long. I try to kind of, with photography and stuff, I always try to sort of put my personality on it a bit and do things as kind of uniquely and as artistically as I can in my own little way. But bees don't tolerate that. You've got to stick to some pretty hard rules of beekeeping. Yeah. So it's just it's the most of the work is installing a hive. Once the hive's on site, it's all great, you know.
Yeah. And you mentioned obviously it's expensive and that it takes a lot of effort on your part. So why should businesses get involved? It doesn't sound like you're here to make money out of this.
No, I'll never be rich from beekeeping. So it's what you said. What's
how can businesses help? What can they?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's two ways businesses can help. I mean, well, it's infinite, really. I've got beehives on rooftops in London and rooftops in Essex, in a George's Yard in Braintree, on top of the W.H. Smiths and stuff. We've got beehives up there that people don't even know they're there. So it's just great. The George's Yard, we harvest the honey, the raw honey. I've brought one here for you, actually, Richard, if you want to. That's the meal stuff.
That's a treat.
There you go.
I like getting the bring stuff.
You can see the pollen and stuff in it. So another thing with hobbyist beekeeping, they're kind of obsessed with filtering and cleaning and making honey just a clear product. I really lean into the rawness of it. It's not really processed at all. I don't heat treat it. I put it through a sieve basically to catch bits of dead bee and twigs and stuff, but it's just honey straight out of the hive with pollen and propolis and beeswax and stuff in it. And that is a real commodity, I think, so that's just the bonus of keeping bees. And it's obviously just trying to help businesses, just trying to help the pressures, relieve some of the pressures they're under, I mean, my plan this year, I'm going to step up my queen bee rearing program, and I'm just planning on having a surplus of these resistant queen bees and giving them out to hobbyist beekeepers and giving them to bee societies and clubs, trying to get the native genetics back out into Essex and trying to help them, spread their resilience a bit more into.
So how many hives do you look after at the moment then?
I've got just over 60.
Yeah.
Spread over about 20 clients. So yeah, and a lot of the hives have suffered losses this year, so they need to be repopulated. The beekeeping season's just starting now in April, really.
Yeah.
The weather's still a bit sketchy, but yeah, the hard work's just about to start again. Yeah.
So if we were looking at the next few years ahead to help you on your mission, we've got 60. Where do we need to get to? What can that look like?
Yeah, that's another good question. Because purely with the mechanics of actually getting around and looking after all the hives, I don't suppose I need that many more clients. I need almost, I suppose, sponsorship of companies. I mean, it's great if you've got the land or the space to have hives, or maybe I'm looking for sponsorship from bigger companies to just to help fund the project, really, of trying to breed this resilience and spread the new queen bees genetics.
And they can do that if they've got space, so they can have a hive.
Yes, I mean I've got I've got hives in my apiaries with kind of logos of companies on it, and so I'll bring their staff out to have experience days, if you like, so I can show them how the hive works. We can harvest them honey, and they can taste honey straight from the hive, and it's great for companies' kind of social stories, and event experience days, or I can do it on their land as well if they've got the space. I'll put the hives on their land and come out and do the experience days with them.
Yes.
So it's either or. Yeah.
So I guess in certainly historically, probably every business owner listening to this has probably been approached by people, plant trees, do you want to plant trees and things like that. So I guess this is an alternative, an equivalent that
exactly that's a very
could contribute a little bit more directly.
Yeah, exactly. And you get, it's great. Like I say, I'm a bit blasé about it, but it is fascinating to see how a honeybee colony works, how their life cycle, and how honey's made, and to taste the honey from the hive. It is fascinating. So there's that, as well as they actually get the end product as well. Yes, and I think it's all part of that, planting trees and rewilding sites, and because habitat loss is definitely contributing to the demise of the honeybee.
What do you think? What do you think the end point is here? When do you know you've won?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll ever. I don't think it's something to be won, really, because I mean, in the fight against pesticides is definitely a factor. And is that ever won? Because I suppose that's just politics, isn't it? And of what's allowed and what's not allowed. But that's definitely has an impact on pollinators, like, you know. So you just keep on keeping on, don't you? I just keep on trying to do what I do and what difference I can make. And, you know, I sign all of the petitions, and we campaign through the Bee Farmers Association and the British Beekeeping Association against the pesticide industry. And we kind of just do what we can.
Yeah.
I mean, my aspirations for Plan B were never huge. I don't want to become a franchise or anything. Every hive I install, I look after personally. And I did have in my mind of like 100 hives as a aim to have, but that seems like a lot now because of the 60 I've got is hard work. But yeah, I suppose I think if I can get the funding, I'd like to take on an apprentice.
Okay.
Have a younger
help out with the hard yards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just to, you know, somebody to pick up you know, when I leave it, and carry on the good work.
Yeah. It's an incredibly noble cause, and I doubt anyone listening really would appreciate the scale of the challenge or the truth of it. So the bees have got generally good PR, so we're aware of it, but I guess we're not really aware of what people are doing, like yourself, that doing this quite selflessly, not for profit.
Yeah,
you've got to make some money, but it's not for profit effectively.
It really isn't. I mean, especially with the costs of fuel and stuff at the moment, it is. No, I mean, all I've really my aspirations really are for it just to pay for itself for a few years. And I'm only in my third year professionally, and I'll maybe have a look at it in a year or two and see how the bees are doing, and you know, and see. But like I say, even when hives fail, the data's interesting. You know, it gives you this hard evidence of how things aren't working out, and it's great when they do.
Yeah.
It is a bit random. Some hives have why some survive and some don't, and we'll see how that pans out. So yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to keep on doing what I do. You know, photography is a distant memory.
Yeah. So looking back on that, do you ever look back on that old life and think, oh God, things are so different now?
I've got an exhibition going up for a couple of months this summer at the Century Club in Soho, like a retrospective of my work. So it's kind of funny dragging myself out of a bee suit and looking back on all the photography work. I should go down there in my bee suit.
Well, I guess I hope in many ways that you become more famous for your work with the bees.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah.
So as a final point, Tony, how can people get in touch with you if they want to support the cause, whether through
funding? It'd be great. Anybody wants to get in touch, the shortest route would be just to go to tonybriggs.com, and my Plan B project is on there. I mean, the website has my photography and video on it, really. But if my Plan B project, everything's on there you need to know.
Perfect.
And yes, that'd be great to, if anybody wants to help support my project, get in touch. It'd be amazing.
Perfect. Well, look, appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks for having me. I can't thank you enough.